the Agorist Next podcast. I'm Brandon. I've got my great co-host Dag with me. How you doing, Dag?
I'm doing spectacular, man. How's it going?
Hey, great. Real exciting episode this time. But before we get into it, wanted to go over our sponsor, Presearch, decentralized search engine. Earn crypto for searching. Don't get spied on by Google, and you can seamlessly change between other search engines. It's a great platform. We really believe in the project. So
they're super cool. It's definitely my primary search engine.
Yeah, me too, definitely. You can switch between crypto and stuff too, and now they've gotten Node. You can pretty much mine and help the it's pretty much like mining, but you help the search engine and you get rewarded in pre-tokens. So yeah,
it's very cool.
Great project. Yeah, they've only got 500 million tokens. They burned like over half of that. So yeah, they're looking good. Not financial advice, but yeah, we love the project for sure. With that said, we've got a very exciting guest, George Donnelly. He's a founder, CEO of Panmoni. Big Bitcoin Cash guy, like myself. And yeah, just, for a couple months, I'm like, cool. Yeah. Well, I've known about him, but, the last couple months, I'm like, wow, this guy's like an agorist. So yeah, definitely, love what he's about and love what he's doing, and, wanted to have him on. So with that said, how you doing, George?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. Real pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. So, I guess my first question for you would be like, what's your take on agorism?
So I think agorism is basically us outcompeting the state and not doing avoiding as absolutely as much as possible any kind of validation or support of the system, avoiding the whole nation state system. Somebody starts a small business and they're like, oh, you should register an LLC, and you register an LLC, and you're in their game, right? Because you gotta fill out the paperwork, you get the accountant, and then the accountant is like, hey, do all this stuff, and you get tax breaks, and you got to file your quarterly taxes, and like you've put the nation state yoke around your neck. And now you're subject to the whole web of false incent constantly trying to hang on us, do things that serve them, to play their little game of print up all the money, give it to their friends, and then use it to grab as much real property as they can. So I think agorism is about avoiding, just saying like screw you to that whole game, and doing things outside of that space, and in reality building a new world, building the new world within the shell of the old, a world where everything is voluntary action, trade freely, borders evaporate one way or another, whether it's via cryptocurrency or Tor or smuggling or whatever. And that this is an engine, this philosophy, this practice, this is an engine, not only for sustaining our own lives, making a living, all that, but creating the foundations of a real global market economy that's not distorted by these incentives that are created by the nation state through the tax code and the Small Business Administration and the limits, like the limits that, for example, you'd see in a place like Argentina, where you can only withdraw so much money from the ATM at a time. You can't send money here, you can't send it there, and of course avoiding the whole tax game, which is just about it's just part of their mechanism for pulling funds after they printed a lot of funds, a lot of new money, just pulling some of it back out in order to maintain some demand for their fake currency. And I think before we had Bitcoin, it was considerably harder. But now that I think we have Bitcoin, and really for me today, in my humble opinion, Bitcoin Cash, the original mission and vision of Bitcoin. Now that we have Bitcoin Cash, it's a really big piece that's falling in the Agorist strategy.
Yeah, could you elaborate on that? I'm a huge Bitcoin Cash guy too, and on your Twitter profile it says Bitcoin Cash, the road to adoption. I think Panmoni does. You guys primarily focus on Bitcoin Cash too, right?
Yeah. So Panmoni is not any kind of formal organization or anything yet. We are at this time a small team. One point when we were working, doing some work with Dash, we built up the team to about 80 people, 20 cities, 3 continents. But right now we're a bit smaller, and so we have active teams in Caracas, Venezuela, and where I live in Medellin, Colombia. And we're focused on educating people about the basics of Bitcoin Cash, just educating them about how they can make use of it for remittances, for cross-border trade, as a safe haven, right? To get your wealth out. Like Venezuela is a prototypical example. I mean, the crazy hyperinflation that has been going on for years, the absolute destruction of the economy by this gang that are in power in Caracas, just so hungry to control and really to destroy. Just stupidity. And so people need to, and those kinds of situations are happening in Argentina. Here in Colombia, the peso is devalued like 30% or more over the last couple of years. Turkey, Lebanon, there's so many places where the local elites, the gangs, the little oligarchies that run all these different third world nations are just doing it. They're sucking up too much. They're being too parasitical, and people need to be able to secure their wealth, because when you go out and you do 8 hours of work, or you do a deal and you make a couple $1,000s, you traded your time for that. You traded your life for that. And for somebody to use their printing press at the central bank, or use their tax laws or whatever, to take that away from you is actually to take your life. That is literally taking your life. You like, I've seen cases where immigrants have come to the U.S. They've worked, maybe they amassed a savings like $60,000 or $65,000, and then on the way back out of the country, they're going back home to build and whatever. And it gets seized, and it's, a court case, U.S. versus $65,000. And they stole those years of that man's life. And that's not okay. That's not okay. Because basically what happens is we are feeding an elite that control that printing press. They're taking control of real assets, which result in loss of real options for regular people who for whatever reason aren't part of that, those. And so it's so critical that we, that we have a currency, a sound currency like Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, absolutely. Why Bitcoin Cash out of many cryptos out?
So basically, if you look at, say if I pull up CoinMarketCap, I mean, if you think about a cryptocurrency, you want something that is actually going to be censorship, that, if somebody comes to crack down, or if somebody wants to walk in and take over, that it's going to be able to resist that. And as I think a lot of people are already aware, Bitcoin BTC was taken over by a small group of developers, raised venture capital, and hatched this crazy plan to offload the great majority of the transactions to the Lightning Network, which is essentially, it's not censorship resistant at all. It's basically a neobank system, essentially. And it is absolutely not censorship resistant, apart from the fact that almost nobody has adopted. You take a look at a coin like Binance Coin, Tether, Cardano. These are essentially company coins, really, or XRP, Chainlink. These have companies behind them, essentially. And so is it a cryptocurrency, or is it just some corporation? Whereas Bitcoin Cash not only preserves the original blockchain format of Bitcoin, which means that it's scalable. It can actually serve millions and millions of transactions per day, per hour, eventually. This, unlike Bitcoin BTC, which, they decided to strangle the chain essentially by keeping size of the blocks. A new block is created every 10 minutes to just 1 megabyte, which effectively limits its ability to process transactions, which results in, because block space or the ability to get a transaction through is so scarce, it actually means the fees go way up. So on Bitcoin BTC, fees are easily $15 to $20 for a transaction. Whereas on Bitcoin Cash right now, they're about 1/10 of a cent, about 1/5 or 1/10 of a cent. So, when people say, well, how's Bitcoin BTC supposed to be able to serve everybody in the world? Even people who make like less than $10 a day. Well, the Bitcoin BTC people say, what are you talking about? This is not for them. This is for Wall Street, But Bitcoin Cash, we say this is for everybody. Everybody can gain access to this, and really, everybody does need to have access, because I think, if people are familiar with the work of Hernando de Soto, Peruvian economist, the mystery of capital, and in the developing world, in the United States, we talk about regulations and this and that. But regulations are crazy, crazy out of control in the developing world, which is essentially the thesis or conclusion of De Soto's work, which is that capitalism is not happening in the developing world because of these crazy excessive regulations. People are not able to. The prototypical example is like a Peruvian farmer. He has a piece of land; it's his. But in the land registry office of the government, it's not listed as his, because it's expensive and extremely time consuming and paperwork intensive for him to get the legal title in his name. And he simply can't do it. So when he goes to plant his field, he would like to take out a loan against the land in order to buy seeds, but he can't. And this is the kind of thing that's been happening across the developing world. And so, I think Bitcoin Cash has an absolutely spectacular opportunity to serve as a sound cross-border currency that's so easy to transact with, instant, that really no other coin can really serve, right? Because, let's just take one offhand, XRP. Let's say we want to do it with XRP. Well, the problem is that XRP is a company coin that's centralized. And so at some point when, Mexican farmers are, using that, and, their accounts could get redlined. Their coins could get seized. They could see they could be subject to like KYC and AML and not really be able to comply. Because another insight of De Soto's work is that a lot of the, we think of the developing world as the poor, but the reality is they're not that poor. They actually have more assets than the developing world. It's simply that those assets are not properly documented. And so for them to fit into the first world conceptions of things like KYC, AML, all of this paperwork, you want to send some money, fill out a form in triplicate, and sign it properly and check all the right boxes. They're just not going to fit into that, right? And so they're essentially excluded from the opportunity of growth. And that is a loss, not just for them, but for all of us. Because imagine what kind of human talent and insight in India or Pakistan or Ghana is going unrealized because the children don't have enough to eat. The parents don't have enough work. They're not benefiting from the insights of capitalism that we've been benefiting from for the last 300 years.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Dag. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just all that was great, George. Really, like, I really get, kind of emotional when I start thinking about things. A couple points you made that are really great. Like, when we're talking about money that you're earning, that's that's time, that's years of your life, and it's impossible to calculate how much, really, besides taxation, regulation, all that actually costs us. But let's just say the lowest possible end, 30 to 50%. I mean, that's time you could be putting towards something you want to do, towards spending with your time with your family or whatever, or just living a better life, and it's just, it really upsets me. And then, again, like you were saying, in the developing countries and stuff, how it's just, people like to say, well, without government, how would this happen? Like they always want to look at the negative, and it's like, dude, but no, like you're missing a whole other side of this, without government. Look at all this human flourishing that could happen. Look at all these great ideas that could come to light, all these people who might have these amazing talents that just can't realize it because they're, restricted. It's, it sucks. So that's one of the things that really, drives me towards Agorism as well, as we get to help as many people as we can, improve their life, get around the regulations that might be keeping them down,
And it's a win-win, everybody wins because it's free market trade. It's not an act of charity. It's I always tell people, I mean, De Soto, in his work, the developing world has more assets than we do. Like if you look back at say what happened with Europe after World War II, or the Asian tiger countries, in the last half of the 20th century. Imagine, I mean, there are 5 billion people in the developing world. Imagine the torrent of economic growth that could be unleashed when these people have their liberty. That benefits everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a real great quote by that reminds me of a real great quote by Frederick Bastiat, where he says, man, I'll probably butcher the quote, but something in terms of like, yeah, right. And everyone should check out his essay, The Law, for sure. But let me see if I can find this quote. It's like the wealth of one man benefits all others or something. It's so great. But yeah, I'll get that quote here in a sec. But so yeah, George, I want to ask you about Colombia. So you're in Colombia. How are things in terms of COVID there, and why Colombia?
Well, after college in Chicago, I rented a room. Landlord was a Colombian guy. We became pals, and he just like nagged me for months, saying I had to come and visit Colombia and see how awesome it was. And this was, and then I had this job in bank, so I quit it, and then I had all this free time. And so this was 1994. So all of these, like literally everybody, I mean, this was the State Department had like travel warnings. This was just a year after they killed Pablo Escobar. Literally everybody thought I was crazy, but I came and spent a few weeks, and it's just so beautiful here. The people are so nice. Like I'll walk down the street and be like, hey, where's the, just talking to a stranger, hey, where's this thing? And not only will they stop and tell me how to get there, people are just so nice. They have just this genuine humanity about them here in the Antioquia region, in which the city of Medellin is in. Not all Colombia is like, so I just, and of course there's the huge Andes mountains. Medellin is like a thin strip of land in between two mountain ranges. It's got great weather. They call it the city of the eternal spring. Now that things have calmed down in civil war and whatnot, since about 10 years ago, tourism has been increasing. It's a fun place to visit. There are all these little towns nearby at different altitudes. So you can go up near the airport and it's like 2,300 meters, and it's kind of it's a little chilly. Or you can go the other way and it's like 500 meters. And so it's like hot and sunny, like almost like being at the beach. So, and the whole coronavirus thing, really from what I can see, the Colombian government takes its marching orders from Washington, D.C. In fact, the current president of Colombia was working in D.C. before he became president.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they overdid it here. They had us locked down. And I understand it was Colombia's like one of the top 20 or so countries with cases in the world. And now things seem to be going a little bit better. But basically, the news here, the TV news for more than 12 months now, every day it's been how many people have died and be scared, and so like everybody is super scared still. So it's been a bit coronavirus has been a bit rough on Colombia.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So like if I wanted to visit Colombia, what would be like the things I'd need to watch out for? And like I hear something about the I don't think it's like too common, but I hear something about the like it's like a lotus flower or something that people will use to, like, I think it's called like the devil's lotus or some crazy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember the Colombian or the Spanish name of that, but it's some kind of powder, and they'll just kind of throw it in your face and turn you into kind of like
and they can like they can like basically make you
real,
like withdraw all your cash out of withdraw all your cash out of the ATM with it.
Get out
of here. And you'll just do it like really calmly, and people think you're just like walking with somebody normal, and like it seems pretty crazy, man. Like I'm sure you've heard some pretty crazy stories about it, but
it's called scopolamine.
Yeah, scopolamine. Yeah, and I think there's a slang for it, like the devil's
breath. Yeah,
they I know that I think the Aztecs or the Mayans, I can't remember which ones, had some, and they basically like gave it to a bunch of people to like. I think they were doing sacrifices and stuff, and they would just like after they took the flower, they would just do it, and so yeah, it's pretty crazy how you can kind of when you give it to somebody, you can just control them like that. That's pretty
there's a reason to wear a mask right there.
But, right.
I think it's more of a novelty than a real threat. I don't hear of many cases of it actually being used. But yeah, it certainly is a concern. I mean, I would say to be careful with whom you associate. It's best to I don't know. It's just best to not associate with any old person. I guess I've never really had any trouble here. It's kind of funny because I've been living here since 2001, so. I was here when like the guerrillas were like knocking down power lines, into the cities and causing brownouts. The whole Plan Colombia thing. I watched a motorcycle guy rob a car once, but literally nothing has ever happened. I think one thing they do, is they do target some, like touristy places and hotels and whatnot. So. Yeah, so I would just be careful not to say like the super lowest cost place. Just don't hang out all the time in the super touristy place. A lot of people do come to Medellin now for tourism, like probably millions per year, at least before the whole COVID thing. I would say it's very, very much an edge case.
So you're also you're also trying to spread Bitcoin Cash in Colombia and Venezuela and all these other places. I saw on Twitter that you had your team was involved with a Bitcoin Cash meetup in Venezuela, which is so cool. I'm really glad that you guys could help in any way possible with the currency collapse in Venezuela. But if you could go into that for me, and also what is it like to try to spread mass adoption in some of these Latin countries?
Sure. So in March of 2018, I started going around to small merchants here in Medellin, Colombia, knocking on doors and whatnot, and seeing if they wanted to accept crypto. For a while, Dash financed me to do this for about 16 months. And we had, at first it was kind of hard because we would, go around and, talk to merchants, and it was kind of hard to find a decision maker, or people simply had no frame of reference to understand it, or a few people had gotten ripped off in different scams and ponds. So after a while, we got some funding from Dash, hired a few people, and we started getting our first merchants here in Medellin, people who are genuinely thrilled that somebody from the crypto world was coming to visit them, or just generally thrilled, to discover the crypto world. And so for about 16 months, we worked really hard. I built a team of 80 people across 20 cities, 8 nations, 3 continents.
Wow.
We affiliated more than 1,300 merchants. We onboarded at least 5,000 people. We developed all these processes that, kind of simplified things. But, Dash is going in a completely other direction. They've fallen down the charts a lot. They have a leadership crisis. So I said, check out Bitcoin Cash. Roger, for about a decade, not closely, but he gave us a warm welcome, as did others. And so now we're focused on Medellin and Caracas, where I have some team members there, Jose, Talia, Hi Fred, and other people who are really committed to this, really interested in this. Jose has been with me for, I don't know, maybe 2 years now. And he's great. He's just really great. Really our goal is to develop an app that makes it really easy to use Bitcoin Cash for remittances, because remittances is a $700 billion a year industry. It's a huge source of inflows of new money into the developing world. Globally, remittance fees are, average around 78%. And if you look at places like Cuba, Venezuela, Sub-Saharan Africa, some Pacific Islands, fees can range as high as 40 to 50% on remittance. So there's a big opportunity to save people a lot of money. And then we can connect, when somebody gets some Bitcoin Cash as a remittance, we can connect them with local merchants, and we start getting a Bitcoin Cash economy going. And then also we can have a module where people can self-study, to onboard themselves, to learn the philosophy, to understand the value, and then they can learn how to onboard more merchants, onboard more people, and they can get paid to do it. So it kind of be like mass adoption app. And so that's really what we want to build. Quite been able to get it fully funded yet. But we had all the time. I just recently, I do a podcast. It's called Peer to Peer. It's on all the podcast sites. The Bitcoin Cash site YouTube channel has a lot of different interviews and other videos of our work. And I recently launched a project called 1M, which has 100 BCH in prizes. So that, anybody across the world can onboard new people to Bitcoin Cash, create media around it, and have the potential to be rewarded for that or prize.
That's great. What do you need to be, like if somebody wanted to help fund you or fund it, how would they go about doing that?
Well, the easiest way would be to go to memo.cash, which is an uncensorable social network that runs on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And there is so on Bitcoin Cash, we have SLP tokens, which are very simple tokens. And so Memo also has a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange. And so you can go to memo.cash and you can buy some of our tokens. And so the idea is that, we're selling a very limited amount of tokens. And the idea is that, by buying our tokens, we get the Bitcoin Cash and we spend that to build the app, and you hold the token. And, I think there are maybe 500,000 total tokens. And so, when we produce profits from the app, we will distribute those profits proportionally back to the token hold, because you
great,
can do that
you're
in
not
Bitcoin
only
Cash.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Agorist Nexus has an SLP token as well. Like all of our supporters and some of our supporters and a lot of our content creators all hold tokens. So yeah, people who donate through the token reward, the Agorist Nexus team. And that's another reason why I love Bitcoin Cash, is because you can't do that with, I don't think you can really do that very well with many other blockchains. But what was I going to ask you? So only 500 million tokens. Yeah, that's
500,000.
500,000.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's right around there. It's a relatively small number.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about picking up some of those myself. Not mainly just to help you guys out, but it's cool to get rewarded for helping out a project or donating. I think that's awesome. So
it's really cool, like the tokenization, especially because we're talking about avoiding regulations and stuff. So I'm not oversimplifying by saying that like a SPL token's kind of like stock in like a company then, right?
You're not not at all, because actually I did an interview with James Kramer, who came up with the original idea, and that was absolutely his intention behind it.
So with the stock market, there's so much like the SEC and all this nonsense, like there's just so much to it. So this is just a way just to be able to completely bypass all that noise and just get down to business, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here's our thing. You want to own a chunk? Let's do this. I think that's that's really cool. Would you say
there's a tool called the SLP dividend calculator on tools.bitcoin.com, and so what that does is enable you to say you have 10 BCH in profit. You can say, send this 10 BCH proportionally to whoever holds all the tokens, and it will send it out as if it were like a dividend.
Yeah, it's really cool. Would you say that here recently, all the increased mainstream hype for cryptocurrency, notably Bitcoin, obviously here recently, but do you think that that's going to lead to an increase in merchant adoption, or a significant increase?
I don't really see it translating directly, because all of these crazy bull runs and things are, the dominant narratives are about getting rich. And your average merchant, wants to get rich. I mean, we have a lot of merchants who were aware of crypto before us, and they hold a little bit, but they didn't accept it actively until we came to them with that idea. For them, for many of them, the idea was just, this is how.
I hear that a lot when I talk to people about crypto, and that's what they see it. They even have described, oh yeah, it's like a futures. And I'm like, well, it's a currency. Like they don't even see it as being like they just don't understand, in that regard. So I can, I can definitely see that being the case. What would you say is maybe the most, if you can pick anything out, that's maybe one of the most effective things that you find to get people to start accepting? Because I'm really big in, like, if we can't use this, if we can't use it, it's going to be really hard for it to gain a lot of steam, so merchant adoption is really, important to me. What do you like? Let's say I'm going to talk to my local whatever store, in town here, and I want to talk to them about maybe getting into accepting crypto. Do you have any tips?
Absolutely. So, over the last 3 years, in these different countries, and with lots of experience doing this, I've developed a whole document actually that lays out the approach, and you can find that at bitcoincash.site/merchants/onboarding. And so basically, we just burn a lot of shoe leather doing it. I can visit 40 merchants in about 2.5 hours in one neighborhood, and if I get 2 who say yes, then it's a good day. Because at the end of the day, not everybody has a forward-thinking vision. The seminal business book, Crossing the Chasm, really lays this out clearly. You know, some people are just early adopters. They want to get into the new things first. And meanwhile, some people, even though everybody has cell phones and wireless phones and, these, Amazon things that talk back to you, some other people still have rotary phones and they like them. You know what I mean? Different strokes for different folks. So the first thing is just to visit, and then to make sure to find the owner or the administrator. And then I just say to them, hey, this is just to let you know, Bitcoin Cash is launching in Medellin. Every month, we're onboarding new people. We're teaching them about peer-to-peer electronic cash that crosses borders as if they didn't exist, and directing them to merchants that accept it. These people buy and earn Bitcoin Cash, and they're looking for businesses like yours where they can spend it preferentially. Bitcoin Cash is a new decentralized currency, not unlike the dollar, but it's independent of governments and works online. Millions of merchants around the world already accept Bitcoin Cash and are getting new customers because of it. Would you like some new customers? Right? Because the merchant, all they want is new customers.
Right.
So it's important to talk about that, the philosophy and all that stuff. Like, so we hold meetups, like, after somebody's been with us for a little while, maybe we visit them and, we verify, we make sure that they're all set up, they haven't lost their interest. We'll hold a meetup there. We just a week ago, we held that meetup in Caracas, and on the same day we held one here in Medellin. And that guy is a restaurant called Smash, and that owner has been with us, friendly with us for a long time now, a couple of years. And so we try to hold meetups at these merchants, in order to kind of let them see, that this is something bigger than just a payment method. And frequently I give talks at these meetups, and other people give talks too. We have many very capable team members at this point. And they listen, and they learn. And over time, like what I think it was the first merchant that I affiliated, his name's Ruben, and he owns a fried chicken restaurant in the Laureles neighborhood of Medellin. And we held quite a few meetups at his place, and over time he just absorbed the whole thing, and he became the #1 fan, literally. Like he asked us to give him a T-shirt. We made videos with him, and so it's about building the social proof.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's so great. I want to get into like what you're doing with merchant adoption, but we've got one more sponsor to get to, and
awesome.
Sponsor is DVT Cryptocurrency. Again, great project. They're working on privacy with Terraform. They've got they're working on DeFi as well, and really great project. It's a proof of work coin, but you can stake it for rewards. So it's like getting interest, and doing so is super easy. Like I was able to cold stake DVT in like 2 seconds with the click of a button. So really easy and user friendly. So with our sponsor,
is that Default?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know some of the guys that work on that. Yeah, it's a fork of Bitcoin Cash. It's a pretty cool project.
Yeah, it's a great project. Yeah, it is a fork of Bitcoin.
A code fork, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Code fork. Yep. Yeah, it's great team, and yeah, great code too. Definitely.
So they have like a democratic approach. Like they want
correct.
They want everybody to feel like to participate in making.
Yeah, it's like one,
which I think is a very cool experiment.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I mean, that's not 100% my thing, but I think it's a very.
It's funny because we we've talked about that. We've had Decentralized on several times, and we kind of talk about the concept of like democracy, and it's like like when it's forced upon you, like it's not cool, right? But like when it's something that you sometimes decisions have to be made in an organization. So, that is definitely, on a voluntary basis, something that can work. So anyhow, we just had some interesting conversations about that. So it's funny to bring that up.
Cool. Yeah,
George.
That's the nice thing of the marketplace, especially the crypto marketplace. Like everybody who has an idea can try it out,
Exactly. Yeah. And hey, if it works, great. If not, well, as long as it's voluntary, whatever. It's how we learn.
100.
It's yeah. I mean, some of these coins, a lot of them, I'm like, well, this is better than the US dollar anyway. So,
yeah.
But yeah. With that said, yeah, that's cool that you've heard of Devault too. But I want to get into I like to watch your conferences where you have like, man, sometimes you've got like 20, 30, and you're trying to discuss like all these solutions and with like how can we get more merchant adoption. You've got like sometimes you've got like even Roger Veron and let's see, I've seen like Jaja and like Akane and like pretty much all the Bitcoin Cash which is just awesome.
Only a few Bitcoin cashers still hate me. I've managed to win over the rest.
You'll get the haters. You seem like an awesome guy. So but yeah, tell us how you even go about organizing these things, these big huge like meetups, and it's so great that you try to find solutions and stuff. It's actually kind of inspiring, especially with just for the work that you're doing. I feel like a little fanboy right now, but
I don't do anything that special. I don't think. I just push them forward, as I can each day.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah.
But yeah, it's for example, I did an event, a 17.5-hour live stream last I think it was August 1st to celebrate the fork day anniversary of Bitcoin Cash. And I don't know, I just reached out to people like in 2011, 2010. I organized a similar thing a couple times called Agora.io. And actually that now there's a service, like some online service. I sold them the domain, but we had some really great speakers on there. We had people from Free State Project, people from C4SS, some people, early on talking about Bitcoin. It's not that hard actually to organize an online conference. You just have to go out and invite everybody and show them the value that's there and follow up a lot, reminding people. And, and the meetups, like the meetups wouldn't be possible except for, my team. For example, at one point when I started doing this stuff here in Medellin, I was just doing it in Medellin at that time. And I had built up like a very small team. I think there were 3 or 4 people, and literally all of them quit. So I was back to doing it by myself again, which was kind of discouraging. But by that time, luckily I'd made friends with this merchant, Ruben, and he introduced me to Sebastian, who is actually extremely valued member of the team now. Has been for, since then. It's been a couple. And then over time, we met, we did a conference, a major conference in Medellin. And the guy who delivered our breakfast was a Venezuelan migrant. He'd come over because literally millions of people have fled Venezuela, and a large portion of them are in Colombia, 4 million people approximately. And so he was one of those people, and we got to talking, and it turns out he's a really good salesman. His name's Angel, and now he's a super valued member of the team. He's an absolute rock star, going around and talking to all these merchants. And then at some point we decided we needed to expand into Venezuela, because all these Venezuelans who are here, they're working to remit any amount of money home in order to keep their children and their parents fed over there in Venezuela, because the problem over there is not just the hyperinflation, but the enormous uncertainty that has caused. So prices rise, and of course infrastructure is not being maintained, so the costs of transportation are higher. And then, people just can't get what they need to survive. So, you send a truck full of products down the highway, and it's very possible that a big group of people are just going to stop that truck, pull all the stuff out and leave. They're going to loot it. because people are left with so few options. So then we started making friends over in Venezuela, and that's how we connected with Jose and his friend Talia, and he's introduced us to a bunch of people, and we have some friends in other cities. And so it's just a matter, really, like anything else, of just continuing to push forward every day, to reach out to people, to share the vision. People like Sebastian and Angel and Jose, they had not heard of libertarianism before. I don't think Jose might have heard of crypto before, but Angel and Sebastian had not. And so, just infecting them with the enthusiasm, with the ideas, about the opportunity, about how, the desperate need for individual liberty in the world today, and the great change that it can affect in so many people's lives. Having this information, I feel like it's it confers a certain responsibility to really.
Oh yeah.
Like I was talking to get into a cab today, and I was talking with the driver about how here in kind of, so the city of Medellin is like in a bowl, and so at the bottom of the bowl there's like a highway and a metro and things, and then you go up the sides of the bowl, and they're nice neighborhoods, but then at the top of the bowl, generally speaking, it's kind of bad neighborhood. And these are what's called barrios populares, like popular neighborhoods. And so that, it kind of works that way, not precisely. And so basically the Colombian government, like many in the developing world, is really a failing state. There's so many failing. And so it can't actually keep order in all of these places. And so we see what are called combos. They're essentially gangs who finance themselves by going door to door, asking for money. It's essentially extortion, and by selling drugs. And they can do. They operate with a certain level of impunity. Sometimes there are buses that don't pay the extortion, and those buses get burned. And so I was talking with Tim about all these different problems, and I said, it's like the whole thing where it's so ironic that the Colombian government is still trying to fight the drug war, the Colombian government out of all of them, really, when in the United States legalization is taking hold, but the Colombian government takes its marching orders from DC, and DC still has hold the line. I said, a lot of these problems would just be solved. They would just legalize drugs here. And also, if they would allow people to simply, like Second Amendment rights, what in the United States we would call Second Amendment rights, if they would just allow that here, because people can't have, it's like I said to him, when they outlaw guns, only outlaws are going to have guns. And so that, it's like the nation state tilts the playing field against the honest people. And so if we would just legalize drugs here and institute, Second Amendment like rights, that problem would be solved in a heartbeat. And it's like people don't think about that, Like I see people coming out of Venezuela, and I'm like, yeah, that damn socialism totally screwed you up, huh? And they're like, oh no, it was bad administration. Like, can you believe people coming out of Venezuela and they still don't understand what happened to them? You know what I'm saying?
You just got to get the right people in there, man.
Yeah.
It's
same with Mexico too. If they legalize guns and drugs, once everything.
I think in a lot of these instances, it's really like the U.S. needs to legalize, drugs, because that's where a lot of the demand comes from. But it's like the CIA has to fund their operation somehow, so they can't do that. We've had a guest on the show before, and this is something I really think is really cool, is like the 3D printed gun community. And one of the reasons that a lot of that's really cool is because in the countries like, Colombia or anywhere else that doesn't have, legal access to weapons, people can just make these things at home. It's really cool.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We lost you for a second there, I think.
I'm so sorry about that.
I'm good.
Crazy.
But yeah, that's a
printed guns are awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool Agorist, workaround to that problem. Of course, the issue comes in if you do have to use it to defend yourself, you might then come under the, the scrutiny of the state. But hey, at least you're still alive, or you might be able to save your family's life, or whatever. Or a lot of times just a weapon being present. It doesn't have to, just it being there can keep a situation from getting too out of control as well. So hopefully there's something people can do in that regard.
Yeah, definitely.
What else you got, Brandon?
Yeah, not much. This episode's been just so great.
I know. I feel like I could talk to George for
crypto and
for a few episodes.
We'd love to have you back on for sure.
This
is George.
Anytime.
This has been so cool. I have one that might be a little goofy. We might be able to wrap up on a little bit. I read on the internet that Whoopi Goldberg called you a terrorist. Is that accurate? And if so, I want to hear that story.
So
Whoopi Goldberg called you a terrorist.
Yeah. So it was pretty sure this was 20. I don't know if this was 2010 or I think it was 2011 actually. So the TSA started their whole thing with the scanners, and I don't know if you guys remember back then that was a big forward move towards tyranny that they made, and it provoked some outrage. So I got together with my good friend Jim Babb in Philadelphia, hardcore libertarian, and we brainstormed a project called We Won't Fly. And so it's basically boycotting the airlines over this whole new pat down. I think it was not just the scanners, but the whole thing where they pat you down, and they really start touching private areas. So there was actually a lot of outrage about that. And so we launched the website with some information, and like in 24 hours it had, which was a big deal back. So the media picked it up, and like we were doing interviews, organizations all over, of course, lots of US. I did some interview with some guy like Bill ridiculed me for being against this stuff, and got Jim on CNN on Thanksgiving Day morning because we announced opt-out day, which in fact somebody else might have come up with the idea, and then we just like got full and so Thanksgiving 2011 was opt-out day, and we said that people just shouldn't fly, or people should opt out of the scanning machines, and just basically express pleasure way. This got a lot of momentum. Somehow, I don't remember how, I managed to organize protests at 28 U.S. airports. And the media, I think the media in part were not happy. They shared our unhappiness about these new encroachments on our liberty. And so they took it super serious. They started producing articles about, what's going to happen on opt-out day? Oh my God, is anybody going to fly? And so on The View, that daytime TV show, Joy Behar, Whoopi, and
I never miss it. Yeah, it's great.
Something. Yeah. So they the videos on my YouTube channel, George Donnelly, they basically say, they don't like opt-out day, and they don't agree. Ron Paul, was also The View, and they disagree with Ron Paul. And they feel that opt-out day is safe for everybody. And then this Elizabeth person said, yeah, and we should name these people who are behind opt-out day, and really shame them or something. And so Whoopi says, yeah, and their names are Jim Babb and George Donnelly, and they're terrorists. This is what they're doing, is like terrorists.
Oh, what stretch.
Yeah, and the TSA secretary, maybe it was the DHS secretary, said we were irresponsible. And actually, we got intelligence back from airports that basically the TSA stopped what they were doing that day. So I think we intimidated well. So that was
oh, it's a trip.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Oh, fuck it. All right, man. Where can people find you? You've been great about throwing out links while you've been you've been recording here. So that's excellent. But yeah, where should people go to find your stuff?
So I have like an about me site at georgedonnelly.works, or georgedonnelly.com. That's like my science fiction site. I've written a few science fiction novels. Most of them are free. Most of them are also libertarian-ish. You can also find me on Twitter at George Donnelly, all one word. So it's George Donnelly. Yeah, and those are the primary places.
Sweet.
How many books did you write? Did you say science fiction?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 or so. A few of them are actually, there's 2 that are compilations of libertarian science fiction. So I worked with people like Wendy McElroy, William F. Wu, and a few other authors, and we actually published the first couple libertarian science fiction anthologies that, in like 10 years ago. And yeah, I have a few novels, space opera, cyberpunk, and I have one kind of short one, a novella where it imagines a future where women are basically in charge, and men are pretty much here. Let's see if I can. So it's called Man at Large. I'll read you the blurb. So, women rule. Uncommitted men rot in prison, awaiting selection by overworked, love-starved spinsters. Coxman Nick Chesterton just got dumped. With a return to Broseg number 34 in the offing, he publicly ridicules his ex and finds himself a fugitive from the femme forcers on a sexist meme charge. But the lovelorn ladies of war-torn Eritrea liked his meme. They invite Nick to visit their African nation, select a bride or 3, and live happily ever after, or so they say. Facing 6 weeks in femme forcer's sex camp, Nick must make a life-altering decision between the loss of his sexual identity and the risk of multiple marriages in a jihadi.
Wow,
that was actually free. That was actually free on Amazon. So,
cool. I want to check out the cyberpunk one. That's crazy that you worked with Wendy McElroy too. It's such a small world. I guess she writes for Agorist Nexus as well. So
cool.
we're
awesome.
Yeah, we're honored to have her. So have her doing stuff for us. So for sure. Yeah. Well,
cool.
We're gonna thank you so much for all the time that you've given us. We're gonna
thank you guys.
Yeah,
absolutely. We're gonna wrap it up with a quote here. By virtue of exchange, one man's prosperity is beneficial to all others.
Nice.
Frederick Bast, Agorist Nexus out.